Hey, it's Mila. Welcome back to my channel. Let's talk back to school. Yes, it's coming. Yes, no one wants to go back. Yes, I know some of my friends have gone back depending on the universities that you guys go to. I go back Tuesday the 5th, so I think in like 4 days if I post this when I'm planning to post this. I think most people start after Labor Day, so I just wanted to do a little part 2 of my just like becoming the perfect student series. If you haven't seen part 1, that's when we basically prep I guess like overall for a new semester. We clean our space, we develop healthy habits, healthy routines, and we also just like do all the planning and organization. Today we're going to be really focusing on just like general tips for studying your actual semester, like going into the semester, your social life, just like taking care of yourself also, just like all of those general tips. I do want to bring out a part 3, maybe just like super easy like college outfits, because I know me personally, it's like I don't like going in sweatpants and a hoodie every single day. Like I do want to dress up, I do want to look cute, but I don't have time to like plan outfits. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people feel the same way as me, so I did want to kind of like make a video to talk about that. That one is still like not 100% sure, but I am like in the process of planning it. And then I know that during midterms we are gonna take a little that did not make sense. We're gonna bring out a like more in-depth study tips. That's gonna be the final part of this little series. So if you're definitely excited, again, that did not make any sense. So if you're excited to follow along with the series, definitely hit the subscribe button and leave a thumbs up so I know you guys enjoyed today. Words are just like not working today, so I know that you enjoy these types of videos. If you're new here, my name is Mila. I promise it's not this messy every single time that I upload. It is a lot of times, but normally it's not as messy as this. I make everything from college, lifestyle, and bookish type content. I do kind of want to delve more into sorority type content this semester. So if that's something that you want to see, definitely join a little family. Yeah, without further ado, let's get my list of tips and let's get on into today's video. I just want to give a shout out to the president of my sorority, Carmen, because I remember she mentioned Notion once, and I was like, oh, I've heard of Notion, but I don't understand the hype around Notion. Then I tried it, and oh my god, I love Notion. I'm a Notion stan. So what do we want to start with? We have study tips, we have social tips, and we have general tips. I feel like let's do general tips first, because I feel like that's like logically the best way to do this, and then we're going to finish off with social tips. I am going to be making the little bookmarks. I'm going to leave them in the description bar down below, so if you guys want to jump to certain my brain bugged. I was like, do I want to say parts or want to say points? I'm sorry, this is a mess. I promise we're going to actually get into like the meat of this video. But yeah, I'm going to leave the little sections down below so you guys can jump depending on what you are looking for in terms of tips. I really hope I'm making sense, because I don't know why, like when I start filming, sometimes the brain to mouth correlation is just like non-existent. To start us off, this isn't necessarily a tip, but just like something to keep in mind, and that's that procrastination is normal. We're all human, we're all in our like early 20s. We're gonna procrastinate. Like even like literally every adult or every kid, like every human being that I know procrastinates. Like it's normal. You just have to learn, not that when it's okay to procrastinate, but it's like no, like listen to your body, and if your body is like telling you, okay, like I really cannot do this right now, then yeah, it's fine to procrastinate. And obviously, yeah, sometimes like you're gonna want to go out, you're gonna want to see friends, you're gonna want to do things that you will procrastinate, but like don't be mad at yourself for doing that. Like in my head, I was always like looking back at my previous semesters, and I was like, oh my god, like if I hadn't gone after this, if I hadn't left it to the last minute, and like blah 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 blah, I would be in a better situation. And yeah, but I feel like even though I recognize how I might have messed up in the past, I was being way too hard on myself. And looking at how my habits are now, how my study method is now, I know that I was being too hard on myself thinking like that. So yes, procrastination is normal, but don't let it become normal. You know, like don't be like, okay, this is normal, I'm gonna like lean into it, embrace procrastination. No, like just be aware that it's gonna happen, it's normal. Don't be mad at yourself for it. Just don't make it a habit to always be procrastinating everything. Tip number 2, I started thinking this way last semester, and just to paint you a picture, I was taking 17 credits. I had 4 finals in the span of like 36 hours, and I feel like that's really this mentality that got me through this horrible period of my life. No one has 4 finals in the span of 36 hours. I did. So I feel like since this tip helped me, like, it shows how mind-blowingly, like, revolutionary it is. And that's to take it one day at a time, but don't lose sight of the bigger picture. What I did during that period of my life, like during the entire finals period, I was always like super focused on, okay, what do I have to do today? And I wasn't thinking about what I have to do tomorrow, like the final that's in like 2 days, or like whatever. I was just thinking about, okay, today is today. What do I have to do today? What am I learning today? What am I improving myself on today? Like, how am I making myself better today, like academically? And yeah, sure, I wasn't like completely closed off to the idea that I had a final in like 3 days, that if I didn't finish learning this part, I'm not gonna understand like tomorrow's part. But just really like not allowing yourself to stress out about bigger picture things while still being aware of them. That mentality really helped me like get through, once again, those 4 finals in 36 hours. Like, I know it's not an easy concept to understand. I know it's a concept that I've never really like implemented or really like made myself like understand. And I was talking with one of my friends about it, like her boyfriend who finished school, like told her the exact same thing, but she was like, I don't know, for me it just like doesn't work. And for me, I was like, me too, it didn't work. Then this semester, well, like last semester randomly, I started thinking that way and everything changed. So yes, I know it's hard to get to that point. Honestly, I don't know how I got to the point where I think like that, but really, like, I feel like if you force yourself to think that way, to kind of close off your mind to big, scary, stressful things, and you start focusing on what you have to do today, taking it one day at a time, you're gonna see that it's literally, like, I'm not even trying to like exaggerate, it's literally gonna change everything. Tip number 3 that I kind of touched on during part 1, and that's to work out during class. To work out before class. I personally feel that when I work out before class, that just gives me so much more energy for the rest of the day. I'm so much more focused, I'm so much more aware, I'm so much more motivated to actually do things, and I don't even have to have coffee. Like, I normally drink coffee every day, like, not because I necessarily need it, but I like the taste of coffee. I drink it every single day. But I feel like sometimes I kind of rely on it to give me energy, whereas when I work out in the morning before class, I can like go strong till like 7-8 p.m. and I'm never really tired. Like, it's weird, but I promise, if you guys normally work out at night, try maybe one day working out in the morning, see how that changes, and then if you can integrate it into your schedule in the morning, perfect. If not, then like obviously what works best for you. But if you can try to work out at least like before noon, I swear to God, you're gonna see a huge change in like motivation, productivity, and just like your overall like concentration, your focus, and everything. Number 4, sleep. Please sleep. Like, it's so important. I feel like I'm sounding hypocritical saying this, because do I always sleep? No. Like, I mean, okay, I've never pulled an all-nighter. I always sleep, sometimes even 3 hours, but I always try to sleep, because I swear, like, you need your sleep, and sometimes it's like, it's so much better to sleep than to like stay up and like cramming. Like, obviously, if you have to submit something like early morning, stay up and like do it, you know? And I'm gonna talk a bit about that like later on. Going back to that horrible period of like finals last semester, I had a final from like 7 to 10 one night, then I had another final in the morning the next day, and then one at night the next day. If after my first final I had like stayed up and just like studied and like crammed for the final in the morning, maybe, yeah, sure, I would have done better in the class that I had the final for in the morning, but I would have probably did horribly on my final that was at night from 7 to 10, and then the following day, my other final that was in the morning, I would have probably done really bad in those 2 classes, but maybe a little bit better in the class that I had the morning after. But then since I went to bed, I did so much better in those other 2 classes, and I still like decently passed the class I had in the morning. Just like all that to say that having gone to bed and just like quickly looking over my notes in the morning, I feel like I did so much better in all 3 classes versus like staying up and studying the entire night. Tip number 5, plan the night before. I started doing this recently for my summer classes, and oh my God, the amount of things that I got done, insane. Because I feel like when you plan the night before, you're also like so much more aware of like, okay, what do I actually have to do? Because you can be like, okay, I have to look over like chapter 5, but until you sit down to look over chapter 5, you don't really have a feel of how long it's going to take you, right? But I feel like if you plan out the day before, if you make a list of things that you have to do, make a list of tasks. Personally, I like planning it out, as I showed you in part 1 of this series. In my Google Calendar, I like time batch. And I feel like when I do this the night before versus in the morning, I just like wake up ready to go. You know, I know it's like a habit to start getting into, and like at first you might like narrowly follow the plan, but once you start doing it for a while, you have a better sense on like how much time things are going to be in, and you can also like schedule in time for you, for your self-care, for things that you need to do to not be like overwhelmed with everything. And personally, that's one of the biggest tips that for me has like been an absolute game changer. Number 6, know what motivates you. Personally, I've always had an idea of what I wanted to do in the future, but it wasn't until I had like a very, very fixed image of what I wanted to do, where I could really see myself in the next 5 years once I graduate and once I like started my job and like everything. Once I had that picture, I started performing so much better in school. I started like actively like just overall being better in terms of like studying. I would always kind of like leave things, not necessarily to the last minute, but I would always like drag on and be like, oh, I have time, I can do a little part of this now and then finish it later. But once I had that big like final goal in my head of what motivated me, and I could add like a visual to that, everything changed. Just like the quality of my work and the quantity of work that I was doing, wow, I was performing so much better. I was actually so much more motivated to like understand, to like delve deeper into topics, to go like online and stuff like that. My camera stopped recording, but basically what I wanted to say is that once you have what motivates you, having that picture in your head, like whenever you're not feeling your best, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm getting to that point. Like that's where I see myself in 2 years and 3 years and 5 years and 10 years. Let's like actively take action today to like get to that point. Or I don't know, that's how I see things. And for me, this was like a huge thing that really just like, again, just like motivated me to be more, I guess, like active in my schoolwork. And finally, the last little tip in the general section is to have semester goals. It's kind of tying in with the previous tip where know what motivates you. Like if you have your semester goals, or personally what I like doing is I plan a little like trip for myself at the end of every single semester. Not even like a huge trip, but maybe like a weekend away at a cottage. I'm like, okay, like this is where I want to be. How can I like justify, I guess, like going on this trip as a reward? Then based off of that, I set my goals. I'm like, okay, I want to do this. I want to get like a minimum of this grade in this class, and just like stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be like academic related. It can be like any like short-term goal, and then as a reward I do that trip. Because I feel like once I have something to be like, okay, this is what you get for ticking off all these goals, I am more like aware of what I'm doing. I'm more like, okay, like I want to achieve this, versus when I didn't really have like a reward thing in my head. And I was just like, okay, whatever happens, you know? So yeah, if you have like goals and a reward system at the end, personally for me, that's what like really helped. So that's going to be all for the general tips. I feel like how I said that, it's like the end of the video. But yeah, that's it for general tips. Now we're going to move on to study tips. I feel like I could have arranged these in a better order. So we're kind of going to go out of order, but just like, yeah, there's a little like chronological order that's like missing in these tips. But the first one that I have written down is to actually go to class into office hours. I know I'm so guilty of this, but I realized the classes that I actually go to, every single class, even if I go to every single class to do work for other classes, as long as I'm present in class, I perform so much better in like the final for those classes. Like who cares like if it's worth 3 credits, 3.75 credits, if it's an easier class, if it's a harder class, if it's like a language class, if it's like a math class. If I'm actually present in class, regardless of what I'm actually doing in class, I just perform so much better. I don't personally understand the logic of it, because I know a lot of people say, okay, if the teacher is bad, if you're not getting anything from this class, don't go, it's a waste of time. I don't know if I'm just like in my head and I like believe this is like a placebo or whatever, but that's what I've noticed in myself. Also, let's talk about office hours. You don't have to go to every single office hour, but if you go whenever you have a question, I feel like getting an answer from the teacher is so much better than getting an answer from your TA. Like, I've had TAs that told me one thing, but the prof was like expecting something else, or the TA like doesn't even know the answer to my question, you know? And I realized when I started going to office hours, and once the teacher starts to recognize your face, starts to know you, I feel like, honestly, they were a tiny bit more generous in their grading. Like, I really noticed that in like 2-3 classes that I really started going to the office hours. Like, I've never been a huge office hour person, but I feel like the more you show interest, even if you have no interest at all in this class and you're like really, really struggling, the more the teacher sees you trying, the nicer they are in your grading. Or at least that's how my teachers were. But I just wanted to put that out there to let you guys know that maybe your teachers would work that way. Tip number 2 is to know your productive times. Personally, me, I get so much work done like early morning up until maybe like 11, and then after 5-6. I'm like a morning person and a night owl, but during the middle of the day I crash. So obviously I have to do something like huge. I would wake up 6 a.m, you know, and just like cram till 11, take a break, breathe, do stuff for me until like 4 or 5, and then grind again after that. You know, when people are like, oh, like study smarter, not harder, I feel like this kind of ties into that. Like, knowing the times that you're your most productive is going to save you so much time, and you're not going to be feeling overwhelmed because you're like, oh my god, I've been reading the same page for the past 30 minutes, I don't understand anything. I've been doing this exercise for the past hour, I cannot solve it. Like, knowing your most productive times is knowing when you are your most motivated, when you're your most focused, when you can concentrate the most. And I swear to god, if you like really, really focus your studying, or at least the hardest like subjects, the hardest like concepts on those times, you're gonna start understanding them so much faster than if you would do it in one of your like non-productive times. Number 3, which chronologically should come before all this, read your syllabus. It sounds so stupid, but your syllabus literally has everything you need to know for the entire semester. Like, it has all of the important dates. Like, yes, sure, some teachers don't put it there, but it literally has every single date. Like sometimes the grading things and stuff like that, it's in your syllabus. And like, your syllabus can also tell you that, okay, if I'm like overwhelmed, if I have too many things to do, what assignment can I kind of like not do, but that I can kind of do more like surface level because it's not worth as much, you know? So really, like, just like memorize your syllabus, at least like the grading rubric. Knowing that by heart really, really helps you. And once again, those times when you have so much to do and you're like struggling to know what's going on. And I feel like it's also good when it comes to exam season, because you kind of have an idea of how you're doing, how you need to improve, where you need to improve, and like stuff like that. Like, all those little adjustments that you can make throughout the semester to have the best possible grade, you get all that from your syllabus. So please, I know a lot of people like don't do this and it's so stupid, but like, read your syllabus. Please, it's so dumb, and it's like actually gonna save you if you know like what you're gonna be graded on. Kind of tying in with the productive times, the next step is to know your study spots. Obviously, the same thing as times. You're not going to be the most productive at every single time of the day, and you're not going to be your most productive at like every single possible location. Like, some people can study better in their rooms, other people, they can do coffee shops, other people, the library, quiet sections or non-quiet sections. Like, know what works for you. Personally, me, I need a little bit of like, I guess like stimulus going on. Like, obviously not too much. Like, I wouldn't study at like a Starbucks, but I'd go to like a less busy cafe, because I feel like when I have like just enough going on outside of my bubble, I have to like actively, I hope you cannot hear my mom talking on the phone because she's like literally screaming outside my door. Enough going on that you have to like force yourself to be in your bubble, because I feel like when there's nothing going on, there's no distraction, so you don't have to remain focused. But when there's too much going on, you cannot really stay focused, stay in your bubble, because there's like little holes everywhere. But if there's like just enough holes that you have to actively be aware of these holes and like block them out, you study better. Or like, that's how it is for me. Like, I personally like changing things up. As I said, I cannot study at Starbucks, but I would like study at small cafes. Like, know your best spots, change them up. The motivation, it's honestly like, it's not gonna leave as long as there's change and you have your most like productive time, most productive spots. Recipe for success. I really hope all this is making sense. I'm not like ranting, because again, I feel like I should have like probably prepped my tips better. But yeah, as long as everyone understands and we're on the same page, perfect. This isn't really a tip, But honestly, class is gonna feel weird, and it's okay. I'm in a more male dominated major, and I get intimidated going to class, especially when you see all these guys like talking, their friends, they know each other. I'm like, I don't know them. I'm not just gonna go up to a group of guys, like start talking with them, right? Class, it does feel weird. But once again, going with like tip number 1, actually being in class, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just like, it does make a difference. So your classes are gonna feel weird, but if you can power through that, if you can push past that and actually go to class, you are gonna see results. I feel like it's just something you have to accept, you know, like it's normal, and I'm sure you're not the only person feeling this. Like, especially the first few days of class, everyone is feeling this. Like, it's perfectly normal. Don't let that push away from going to class, because once again, as I said, going to class is one of the most important things that you can do. Tip number 6, don't be solely focused on your grades. You know how everyone says like C's get degrees, and once you graduate, no one is really looking at your grades? Honestly, grades do not matter. Like, you should be focused on grades if you want to go into masters. In that case, grades really do matter. If you want to go to law school, to med school, grades do matter. If you want to get an internship, grades do matter. If you want to study abroad, grades do matter. If you want to be part of certain organizations, grades do matter. But in the general scheme of life, grades do not matter. Like, how you are as a person, what you can do, what you can offer, how you communicate means so much more than your grades. And yeah, sure, your grades can kind of be a way to show how you are as a person, to be like, okay, these are my grades, I'm good enough to be here, then let me prove to you that I'm meant to be here because of how I am as a person. Your grades can only take you like so far, you know? Again, if you need them for an academic thing, yes, please focus on your grades. Like, I'm not gonna tell you don't focus on your grades if you're planning to go to a master's and you need like a B- a B+ to get into the master's. Focus on your grades, but just know that if you're kind of like below average or your GPA isn't the best, your grades literally don't mean anything. They don't define you. When you're done university, like, you're not gonna get hired because you got C's, you know? Like, you're not gonna have a lesser chance of getting hired than someone who has A's, because again, it really depends on like how you are as a person. Your grades like only take you so far. The next few tips are more like when you're like actually studying, there's like tiny little things that I feel like really helped me. So one of the things is to wear blue light glasses and dim the brightness of your screen, because personally, me, especially during exam season, when I'm like staring at my laptop for the entire day, if my brightness is up, if I don't have blue light glasses, my eyes start burning, or just I start feeling so tired. I get so much less work done if I'm sitting on my laptop the entire day than if I'm like going through printouts. And personally, that's why I decided not to get an iPad for my notes. I know a lot of my friends have one, and yes, it does seem practical, but also keep in mind that, like, if you were considering that, keep in mind that you are going to be staring at your laptop and your iPad screen literally every single day for a solid 4 months. Like, a solid, like, I'd say 10 hours a day, you'll be staring at it. On top of it being like not good for your eyes, it's so draining in your energy levels that if you can use printouts, like, yeah, sure, I know we're not supposed to be wasting paper, we need to save trees, whatever, but honestly, like, I say go for paper. Like, that for me is the best thing. But when I have to do things online, I use my blue glasses, my blue light glasses. My eyes immediately feel relieved. Resources, online resources. I'm pretty sure everyone knows that there's like YouTube channels like dedicated to helping you, but there's also other sites. Like me, a few sites that I use and that I've put some people on, because people didn't really know about these sites, so I do want to like kind of like briefly talk about them here. Check, Sudoku, and Quizlet. Those sites have saved me so many times. And honestly, ChatGPT, I wouldn't trust it to write my essay for me. Like, I would not do that, but it can explain concepts in a way that other people cannot explain. And then, like, let's say it explains something and you're like, okay, I still don't understand, you can ask it to reword it or be like, I still don't understand, and it will try to explain it to you in a better way. The last little thing that I have over here is to get up between study sessions. I recently started wearing my Apple Watch, and I noticed that whenever I get up like every single hour to walk on for like even 1 minute, I don't know what it is, but I've been getting so much more work done. I've been so much more focused when I come back, and you just feel different. Plus, I feel like it is good. You get like your blood flowing. You're not like sitting down for the entire day. So that's a big thing that I am going to start doing this winter semester. And yeah, sure, if you're in the library, it can kind of be awkward, but you know, just like pretend to go to the bathroom, pretend to go fill up your water bottle, just like walk around the library. It's honestly not weird. Honestly, no one's gonna notice if you walk around in a circle. Like, everyone is so focused on themselves and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a big thing that honestly like helped me kind of like recharge, you know? Finally, the last part is social tips, and I have 4 little social tips to go through. And number 1 is to integrate your social life into your studying. I'm not saying always be with people, because obviously like, you're going to be talking, you're not going to get any work done. But what I like doing is that I like going to the library with my friends, and then we go to the silent rooms, or we don't sit next to each other. Like, we sit on 2 completely different ends, and after we're like, okay, we're gonna set a timer. After 2 hours, we could take a break and we can talk with each other. And I feel like doing that, you are getting your like social needs met while still making time to get work done. And then after that, you know, grab a coffee for a long break, grab a snack, go out for drinks after your study session, go grab dinner. And yeah, it kind of sucks because you're not like going out, but that's what I did like last semester, and I never felt like I was missing out, and I never really felt like I was behind in my classes either, because I was combining both in a way that made me get the most out of both situations. Number 2, I did kind of like talk about this like briefly from time to time, but join clubs or organizations. Personally, I think Greek Life is an amazing like organization to join, because you meet people that are so different. Like, I have friends in like poli-sci and like biology and psychology and like so many different majors that I would have like never met if it wasn't for AFI. And also, I feel like I learned so much in this organization. I've come so far, like in terms of how I contribute to the group, in terms of like just like my personal growth. I changed so much since I joined, and I do kind of have in mind joining like another group. Like, yeah, sure, these are time commitments, but you really find people who are like you. Like, one of my best friends that I met in the sorority, like a bunch of our friends are like, you guys are like literally the same person copy pasted, and we would have never met if it wasn't for this organization. So yes, orgs are time consuming, you do have to put in work, but amazing for meeting friends and honestly the personal growth that you do in these orgs. I wasn't expecting it, but I'm a changed person and I love it. Tip number 3, learn how to not let FOMO get to you. As I said in like the first tip, we're all in our early 20s. We still kind of have that like fear mentality where it's like, okay, if I don't go out, I'm gonna be missing out and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I feel that all the time, especially given that my major requires, I guess, like more work to be put into it outside of class. Yeah, sure, when I see like all my friends who have the time to go out and I don't have the time, yeah, I do kind of feel like, okay, like I'm kind of missing out. But once again, when you make time to see people, even if you don't go out to parties and stuff like that, as long as I see these people every day, like I never really felt like I was missing out. Again, I'm going back to last semester because I'm really like basing all these off of what I learned last semester. Like, I honestly didn't go to a single party last semester, but I never felt like I was missing out because I still saw all of my friends. I still was up to date with all of my friends' life. They were up to date with my life. We still had so much fun together. And it's like, I didn't need a party to feel like I was like involved or something like that. Like, yeah, sure, I would have like loved to go to these parties, but I never felt like I was missing out because I found what worked for me. So again, I feel like a lot of these tips tie in with each other, and really like when you put all of these together, I feel like I've said this so many times, but it will change your life. Like, these are all things that I really like saw change in me from like last semester. So it's why I'm telling them to you. But really, like, don't let fear of missing out scare you or kind of like peer pressure you into doing things that you don't want to do, because chances are, if you listen to the FOMO, yeah, sure, maybe short term you will be feeling a tiny bit better, but long term you're going to be feeling worse than if you had just said like no. You know, like, learn how to say no confidently. I feel like that's a big thing that I learned in school, but that I could like apply to other aspects of my life. Like, that is a big one. I didn't put that in here, but I feel like learning how to say no kind of ties in with how to not let FOMO get to you. And finally, the last tip of today's video and the last tip in the social tips, but I feel like that kind of goes into everything. Have fun. Again, for the third time, we're in our early 20s, we're young. This is the last time that we're like free. We don't have like a 9 to 5 job. Like, yes, there's like some confinement, but we're still so free to do whatever we want. Like, have fun. Don't take yourself seriously all the time. I'm not saying don't take things in your life not seriously, because Of course, you have to know what to take seriously, what not to take seriously, but it's not the end all be all. Like, if you mess up once, it's not the end of the world. If you procrastinate once, it's not the end of the world. Like, you will probably regret more kind of like pushing everything aside and not having fun versus like if you were, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, like, just have fun. Don't take things too seriously. Like, honestly, it's all about balance. You know, if you can balance everything, if you learn what works for you, honestly, if you implement all of the study tips that I told you today, all of the social and general tips, you're gonna have fun because you're gonna have time to do everything that you want to do. Like, you're gonna have time to do your self-care, you're gonna have time to see your friends, you're gonna have time to study and actually get good grades, you're gonna have time to join orgs, you're gonna have time to work outside of class. Know what you have to do every day. Do that, but plan a room for fun. And by fun, it's like, I don't mean like, okay, like going to a party, like drinking, blacking out, because that's fun. Fun as in, find the little things that are fun. Like, for me, I don't know if it sounds sad or whatever, but for me, like, editing my YouTube video and like watching it back when I'm done like editing it, that for me is fun because I'm like, oh my god, I did that, and like I'm proud of myself, I'm happy. So like, for me, it's fun. Like, reading a book that I'm super into and like seeing these characters that I love, that for me is fun. Going out to dinner with my friends, that is fun. Like, yeah, sure, going clubbing and dancing for like hours and drinking is fun, but comparing that to what I consider now is fun, yeah, sure, maybe it's like me becoming like older, it's can be maybe considered as like sad, I don't know, but for me, that is fun. And as long as I make time to do those things, then I never feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I'm on top of everything, and I'm just happy. I feel like this is gonna be a long one, but I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This was just me like giving tips, mainly that I learned last semester, that once again helped me with my 17 classes and 4 finals in less than like 36 hours. And I feel like if I did that, following these things, and this is what I learned out of it, it's gonna help you too. You can do it. Nothing is gonna stop you. Nothing is gonna stop you. If nothing could stop me, nothing can stop you. All my socials are gonna be linked down below: my TikTok, my Instagram, my Goodreads. Yeah, that's all. Once again, don't forget to reach out in the comment section below or on my Instagram. I would love to have a conversation with you. Don't forget to subscribe for more college-y type videos. And if you like my face, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a thumbs up so I know that you guys had fun today. And also leave a thumbs up if you are dedicated to making this the best semester of your life, following these tips. Let me know if you guys have any other tips that I didn't really talk about today. Like, I tried not to repeat like the super basic things. I know some of them are kind of like basic, but I did kind of want to be more original with these tips. And yeah, so stay safe, protect your vibe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye guys.